for those of you who are not familiar with what I do and how this came to be. When I was 21 years old, I had a dream. And in that dream, I walked into the kitchen and I saw my mother was dead. And she had fallen on the floor and half of her body had decomposed. And I just look at her and I start yelling and screaming like, no, no, mother, you can't die. And I run up to her and I grab one hand, which was good. The rest of her body was already decomposed and maggots were all over. I was holding her hand. I held the good hand. I put my other hand in the sky, and all of a sudden from the sky came this river of light. Poured in, went into my hand, and went into her body, and her body came back to life. So she came back to life. The next day when I woke up, I realized that I had something to do with some sort of healing work. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew that there was a mission. Well, about 10 years after that, I met this very amazing, beautiful healer named Adele Tinnings, who lived in San Diego. And then I met Osho, and from there on, the journey began, and this very intense sense and feeling for self-realization, which was, where am I coming from? Why am I here? And where am I going to? These questions, they're familiar? Anybody? And this really strong feeling inside myself that what I'm seeing, what I'm doing, and this life is not the only thing. I'm not just supposed to go and get a job, make some money, acquire real estate, get married, have kids, or da-da-da-da-da-da, and then die. And also when I was a kid, I remember I was 6 or 7 years old, and my grandmother had died. We were just driving in a car with my parents and my brother. And I asked my parents, well, when you die, what happens? And they said, well, you're no more. And I was like, no. That's bullshit. How can I not be if I die? Where would I go? I mean, what would happen to me? And at age 6, I knew that, and I didn't know the word awareness, but at that time, I knew that I wasn't just going to die. Of course, it took about another maybe 30 years or something till I came across Punjaji, my Sadhguru, Papaji, and I sat in front of him, and I told a part of this story today to a beautiful new friend, but I'm going to tell you this story, is when I got on this path of self-realization and trying to figure out where is God, and I went to India, I thought, okay, I need to go to India to find God. And I knew everyone around me was in darkness, so I needed to find a wise man or a wise woman, someone who has arrived, and someone who can show me the way. So I get to the feet of the master. But prior to getting there, I was reading a lot of Ram Dass, I was reading Osho, and I was like, God, I'm so lazy. I don't feel like going to Tibet and do the stuff that Ram Dass did, 6 months of sitting in a lotus sutra position and doing meditation and doing fasting and all these jumping jacks or doing yoga and blah, blah, blah. I'm too lazy to do these kind of things. Or a lot of Osho meditations, all these workshops, da-da-da-da. I was like, God, there's got to be a lazy man's way to enlightenment. So I get to the feet of the master, Punjaji, and I'm just sitting there, and the first thing he says, there's nowhere to go and nothing to do. You are already that which you're looking for. And I was immediately like, this is my guy. I don't have to go anywhere and do anything. I don't have to give up anything, you know. I don't have to, no, you're fine. You're already God. And he showed me that. He showed me very clearly. One of the times I was sitting in front of me, first of all, I wasn't one of the favorites, so I didn't get any personal attention. But he did zap me a few times and gave me the Shakti pod. And he was an avatar. So one of the avatars that I came across in this lifetime. And one of the times I was sitting in front of him, I was a good boy, so I got a chance to sit in front of the master one-on-one. And he looked into my eyes, and he started laughing. Because I had an experience of being in a prison, I almost got killed and blah, 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 in a political prison. And he looked at me and he said, "Did you have fun in that prison? That prison cell looks like the bedroom you have right now." And I'm just totally blown away. I mean, how in the world he knows about this? The prison cell and the bedroom I have in this house, they look identical, except one of them is bigger than the other. How the hell he knows these things? And then he says, "You know it's all God, don't you?" And I'm just like, I can't speak, because my mind went black. Complete silence. And I'm just staring at him. And he says, "Okay, look." I turned around and everyone was sitting in the back in the satsang house. And I looked back and everybody turned, looked like him. There was 200 Papajis sitting there. And I look back. And he says, "Now look." I look back and they were all myself. There were 200 Zarathustras sitting there. And I looked back and he is me. And he smiles again, and he says, "Now look back." And I look back again, and there was nobody. And I looked here, and there was nobody. And I looked here, and there was nobody. And that was the first time that I realized that there's only one that appears to be so many. That there's really no other. And that one is not even here, but it appears to be. So I realized that the entire thing, all of it, from A to Z, from the Anunnaki, from the aliens, from George W. Bush to Adolf Hitler and Mother Teresa and all the beautiful beings, they're all expressions of that. They're all God. The good, the bad, and the ugly. All of it is that. That which appears as many, pretends to be the other. Well, it took another 20 years for this realization to really settle. And what happened was it brought me to this place. I realized through these teachings that there's a place here right now within everyone which is very still, very silent, very quiet. Right here, within you, within me, all of us, right now. And if you bring your attention to it, all of a sudden you realize that the story's gone and there's nothing happening. It's very still. It's like this. And it's from this place that you can see your mind. You can see your mind is running. Like the time that you come and say, "Hey, my mind is really running and I'm so depressed, I have so many thoughts, I can't relax, it's just going, going, going." Or the times that people come and tell me that I'm in so much anxiety and I've been so depressed and I've been so down. How do you know, how can you see your mind running? And how can you see your feelings? How do you know about your feelings? You have to be somewhere outside, still, non-affected at all, to be able to see this mind that is running. How can you see your feelings? You have to be outside of it, in a place which is completely non-affected, in order to be able to see your feelings and report it. So, what does this have to do with fifth dimensional quantum healing? Just a few sharings that when you tap into and you bring your attention. So what happened for me was when I started to realize this, that no matter how high I get or low I get, I always come back to myself. I always take myself back to bed at the end of the night by myself. I'm not with no matter what, okay, my beloved is here, we're lying down together, but at the end of the night, I'm by myself, at the very end of it. And I wake up to myself. And it doesn't matter how much drugs or alcohol I've done, or how much sex, or how much depression I go through, or how up and down I go, at the end of the day, I always come back to myself. This place, which is here, right now. And it's in everybody that is untouchable, and it will not change, and it's very present. It's always here.